We can be so close to Jesus, but still not completely understand him. Grace and peace, everybody. Welcome to Sabbath School Study Group. We're in the hour of glory, the cross and the crucifixion, then the resurrection of Jesus. You know, looking at the relationship between Jesus and Mary, particularly Mary Magdalene, it's an amazing thing because we see her life turn around in such a way. Well, how is it turning around? It turns around and she starts following Jesus, literally. And she's one of his most faithful and committed disciples. But even though she was close to Jesus, that was no guarantee that she would always understand Jesus. But before we look at Mary's confusion and Christ's clarification, I want to thank you for watching. Please subscribe to this channel. We appreciate your support however you're watching this. And we also love you to like the video to help others find it and pass it on to someone else. And then there's the website. That's at changeministry.org. Please go visit it. Got an amazing study on the book of Revelation and other Bible, New Testament books. And we also have a study on the book of Revelation that we think will be a blessing to you. You'll find that over at changeministry.org/revelation. Jesus and Mary Magdalene, they enjoyed a special connection. And really, there's nobody who's connected to Christ and it's not a special connection because it's salvation. And so just as unique as her experience was, in many ways, we can share that experience. Because here, for example, in John 20:11, Mary stood without at the sepulchre weeping. And as she wept, she was weeping over the fact that Christ was gone. She stooped down and she looked into the sepulchre. And she didn't see Jesus, yet another witness to his resurrection. And verse 12 says she looks and sees two angels in white sitting, the one at the head and the other at the feet, where the body of Jesus had, past tense, had lain. And they say unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? And she saith unto them, Because they have taken away my Lord, and I know not where they have laid him. She straight up admits it. I love Jesus. She's crying, but I can't find him. Did you see that? She loves her some Jesus, but she can't find him. The closeness to Christ does not always guarantee our understanding, our being able to put our arms around what God is doing. Sometimes we can question how close we are to God at the fact that he's doing something that we don't understand. Something terrible, a tragedy, a death can happen to someone very close to us. And it's at that moment that we can doubt God's work and God's move. But while Mary is weeping, and she's weeping looking at the tomb, notice how close Christ actually is. Because it's here in John 20, verse 14, when she had thus said, and she turned herself back and saw Jesus standing, she did not know that it was Jesus. Jesus says to her, while she's weeping, Jesus says, Woman, why weepest thou? Whom seekest thou? And she, supposing him to be the gardener, saith unto him, Sir, if thou have borne him hence, tell me where thou hast laid him, and I'll take him away. And Jesus says to her, Mary. And he says it in a way that she knows that's Jesus. He knows my name. She turned herself and said unto him, Rabboni, which is to say, Master. Do you see this? Especially to those who are grieving, those who are hurting from a loss. She looked at Jesus and thought he was a gardener. And it says that she turned back. She didn't recognize it, that in her weeping, that Jesus was right behind her. He was right over her shoulder. He was right there waiting for her to come to her senses by coming to her Savior. And friends, it's in the darkest of nights that the light shines the brightest. This is proof of it. And so when we take Mary's example and her situation, look at how it can happen for an entire people. For the people of God here in Daniel 9, the church of God in verse 11, Daniel's praying and he says about Israel, Yea, all Israel has transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of God, because we've sinned against him. And he confirmed his words, which he spake against us, and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven hath not been done as hath been done upon Jerusalem. This is Jerusalem, the gem of God, the people of God. But, as is written in the law of Moses, all this evil is come upon us. Yet made we not our prayer before the Lord our God, that we might turn from our iniquities, and here is Daniel's confession, and understand thy truth. Oftentimes we equate intimacy with automatic insight. But those of us who've been married for 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, you could be right by somebody and not understand what they do in year 2 after year 1, or in year 41 after year 40. So be encouraged. Jesus knows that our closeness is not a guarantee that we won't get confused sometimes. But know that when we acknowledge that we don't understand, when Jesus asked her what's wrong, she said, I'm crying because they took Jesus. She didn't deny it. In Daniel's prayer, he acknowledges it and said, we are messed up. We're under a curse and we're supposed to be under a covenant. We've sinned and we don't know our way. And we acknowledge that we don't understand. That is when God's wisdom and God's way can begin.